Good evening. Dio Hilward here. Um, let's invite the bell to ring for a minute. The Dharma is incomparably profound and minutely subtle. It's rarely encountered in hundreds of thousands and millions of kalpas. You can now see it, hear it, and hold it. Maybe understand the Tathagata's true meaning. I'd like to talk a little bit this evening about time. It's a fascinating subject, but even more fascinating to live. Master Dogen wrote a piece in the Shobogenzo, a fascicle of the Shobogenzo called Uji, Existence Time, where he talks about time and being as being one. That time is being and being is time. It's a fascinating fascicle, sometimes a bit difficult for us to read for a variety of reasons. One is just laced with ancient Buddhist terminology. But two, I think it smacks us upside the head, much like modern physicists' understanding of time smacks us upside the head too. But here, the idea of time is only in this moment. It exists only now. And we exist in it. So existence and time are one thing. Past doesn't exist. The future hasn't happened. The only thing we have is this time, this moment. And when you look at it, when is this moment? As soon as you say it, it's not there. So many times we might think that a moment doesn't actually exist because we can't actually put our finger on it. It's gone before we even say it, it's gone. But that's very specific, isn't it? Nishijima in his Nishijima Cross in their translation of the Shobogenzo says something about this being a very existential thing. And I think they're right about that. It's a very existential thing. What is existentialism? It's a 19th, 20th century notion of individual responsibility, that we define ourselves through our actions and not through our thoughts. I am not what I think I am, but what I do. And I think the Buddha way is similar. We are what we do, and not what we think we are. Thinking is a delusion. Thinking is a product of our mind, not a product, not an ontological product, not a product of being, a phenomenal thing. This is very hard for us, I think. Existentialism is a very difficult philosophy, I think, for us, because it requires us to be accountable for our actions in the moment. We can't say, well, I am this because of that. You are this because you chose to be this, is the philosophy, basically. I found that very attractive after I got back from Vietnam. It was a philosophy that assumed that I was in control to some extent of my destiny, of my being. I could choose to say yes or no. I could choose to be a coward, or I could choose to be heroic, for lack of a better term. Jean-Paul Sartre talked about that. He suggested that we are what we do, and if we refuse to fight, or if we flee from battle, if we abdicate responsibility, then that's what we are. We're basically cowards. We are abdicating our responsibility in things, not facing them. I think Zen is much like that. We are asked to live in this moment. We're asked to face our truth, face our reality in this moment. So Nicodemus says here specifically, time is always related with existence, and existence is always related with momentary time. So in reality, the past, the past and the future are not existent time. The present moment is the only existent time, the point at which existence and time come together. Also, time is always related with action, here and now. Action can only be realized in time, and time can only be realized in action. Thus, the view of time in Buddhism reminds us of existentialism in modern philosophy. It's very important to understand the Buddhist view of time in order to grasp the true meaning of Buddhism, or what I would prefer to say, the Buddha way. Now, existentialism. I think I can bring up another screen here without losing you. There's a statement in a paper I just read. Quote, existentialism is arguably the only contemporary form of philosophy that remains true to the conception of philosophy first articulated over 2.5 millennia ago in ancient Greece. For the Greeks, philosophy was the expression of a way of life, a mode of conduct. One should study existentialism in a contemporary initiation to philosophy because it emphasizes action over intention. It is the only way, it is the way of thought harmoniously combining with the way of being. So it's ontological. Ontology simply means being, or the study of being, as opposed to epistemology, which is the study of how we learn, how we know things. And I think the Buddha way is very much like that. We study ourselves in our practice. We sit facing a wall, and the wall, in effect, becomes a mirror reflecting our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our pain, and all that kind of good stuff. And we see it, we experience it directly. There's no escaping it. We're there on the cushion. We can't move. We just sit. So the question, I think, often is, what do we experience? What do we hear? What do we feel? Where does it come from? We might ask questions like, what's this? And so on. But that's sort of like creating a dualism in a way. Once this puts us in a position where we're back to thinking again, as opposed to just sitting. So my suggestion when we sit is to, if we have a question, if we have a thought, to simply drop it and come back to our breath, back to our breath, back to our breath. And then that breath is our existence. Dogen goes on to say a little later, because real existence is only this exact moment, all moments of existence, time, existence-time, are the whole of time, and all existent things and all existent phenomena are time. The whole of existence, the whole universe exists in individual moments of time. Again, what is an individual moment of time? Just this, gone. Anticipate this, gone. What is it? Maybe that's one of the reasons why the Rinzai people will sometimes take a stick and whack it. Wake up, cats, stuff like that. Because it's in that exact smack of the Kyosaku that we're aware of the moment. The rest of the time, we're kind of in a sea of thoughts, in a sea of feelings. The smack of the Kyosaku can bring us into this moment exactly. Sort of like being outside in a lightning and thunderstorm, and the lightning hits nearby, whack, you're awake. Right there in that moment. That's your ontological existence, right there. Bang. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean we should not exist in thought in terms of planning and things like that? No, no. We should, but we should realize what it is and what it's not. Thinking is just thinking. But sometimes thinking is being, because in that moment, that's what we're doing. We're thinking. Like Dogen says in the instructions to the cook has a time for planning, has a time for visiting a storeroom and looking to see what provisions there are for the next day's meal. In that moment, that's what he's doing. And if he's awake in that moment, then he's present in that moment. He's experiencing directly that moment, one moment after another after another. I think it's one of the things that Nishijima was pointing to there, why it's so important to have an understanding of time and being in the Buddha way. It sort of tells us that our experience, our direct experience of the moment is it. That's it. That's the whole it. The whole universe is, as Dogen Zenji says, the whole universe. Right there in this moment. And in this moment, I think I'll say goodnight. It's talking a little long enough. It's 11 minutes and 35 seconds. Thank you for listening and watching. And if you have a comment to make, please do so. And perhaps I'll see you next time. Be well now. Good night.